What's going on, everybody? I am going to be sharing with you one of the most unique machines out there. It has all of the bells and whistles, but is it right for a paper crafter? And is it worth it? Let's get into it. If you are a lover of all things crafty, you've probably already seen the xTool M1 or something similar, and it may even be on your wish list. But if you're just a paper crafter, meaning you just use mainly paper and stamps, this machine probably isn't on your radar just yet. And today I'm going to tell you all about it. And to start off, full transparency, xTool reached out to me and sent this machine to me to try out and give a review, share my honest opinion, my thoughts, and that's exactly what I'm going to do for you today. I'm going to tell you if I think it's right for the everyday crafter, the paper crafter, or maybe you're somebody that wants to start a side hustle to earn a little extra cash. Wherever you land on that spectrum, I hope the information I share with you today helps you decide if this is a good investment for you. Now remember, some things I'm going to share are my own opinion, so don't come for me if you don't agree with something that I say. I'm going to start off by telling you a little bit about the machine just in case you haven't heard about it. It's a laser tool that meets Cricut, and when I first saw this machine, I honestly didn't have any idea how it was possible. The fact that they were able to combine the technology of a laser and still be able to use a blade to cut things like paper and vinyl. But when I did some more digging, I was blown away with the features and all of the different things you can make with this machine. I made a wood sign for my craft room, engraved metal, and I made a wood tag. My daughter likes to make stickers and sell them, so we were able to do that as well. And I'm going to be sharing more in depth how I made a couple of those things later in the video, so stick around. But first, we need to unbox this big boy. When you take it out of the box, it is pretty much ready to go. Everything's inside the instruction guide, a starter material pack, which includes some leather, vinyl, wood, and a few other materials just to get you started. Of course, the cords are in the box as well. And this large black hose is used to filter out the air through your window so you don't end up with a room full of smoke. Now, I had to wait to really use this machine for a long period of time until it cooled off a bit where I live, because it was in the middle of the summer when it arrived. And not only is it too hot for me to have my windows open, I live in the middle of nowhere and we often get things in our yard and sometimes even crawl up the side of our house that you really don't want sneaking in to your house. And I was afraid that those things were going to get into the hose, and I definitely didn't want that happening. And now it's cooled off a little bit, so I was able to play around with it more. And there is an option for a filter. This allows you to use a machine anywhere, and if I find myself using this machine a lot, I might invest in one just because the weather is so extreme here. It can get really cold and really hot, so I'm not able to use it year round like most people might be able to. But for now, I'm not sure making that investment is really the right thing to do. We'll see in the future, and we'll talk more about that filter later on. It also comes with these triangular prisms. These are like metal rods so that you can raise up your material if need be, and this allows airflow underneath the material to help prevent the wood from burning. You're also going to receive some cutting mats to cut things like vinyl and paper, just like you would with your Cricut machine. I was also sent a few extras that are not included if you're just going to be ordering the machine alone, but I did want to share those with you. So they did send me a material starter pack. That includes some plywood, vinyl, some acrylic sheets, paper, keychains, coasters, and so many more materials. This material pack definitely has it all. They also sent me the rotary attachment, and when I opened the box, there was so many pieces, it really intimidated me. But eventually I will be hooking it up so I can engrave some names on some of my tumblers. They also sent me the wood risers. These are going to allow you to raise up the machine so you're able to use larger or thicker materials to engrave in with your machine. The only downside I see to these risers is that the bottom will be open, so some of that smoke and smell might be more noticeable, but there is an option to get the riser base. This is going to raise the machine and it's enclosed, so you're not going to get a lot of that smell and smoke in your room. The risers are great if you work in an area like a garage or something. They also sent me the air assist attachment. This is going to help when you are using the laser tool to help cut deeper and faster. It's going to protect the laser head and give you a clean surface and a smooth edge. That's straight off the website, just in case you are wondering. But I didn't have time to set this all up, but I really think that this tool could be helpful in the future. I'm not going to be using any of the extra machine add-ons today, but I did want to show you that they are available for purchase. These add-ons really allow you to take things to the next level if you are wanting to use this machine to start a little side hustle. And let me be honest, everybody can use a little bit of extra money nowadays, but you definitely have to be invested if you are wanting to get all of these extra things for the machine, but they are really cool. But just know that the machine might take you down a rabbit hole in getting all of the cool things that you can add on to it. If you are strictly here for my review/opinion, that's going to be more towards the end of the video, because first I am going to walk you through a couple projects I made with it, and I'm going to start off with some wood. And thinking of the laser hitting the wood really made me nervous, and my biggest fear is my house burning down. So I definitely had to have my fire extinguisher nearby. My husband was laughing at me, but you know, you can never be too safe, right? I'm going to add the triangular prisms so that I can raise up the wood to prevent burning by allowing the air to flow under it. And I'm going to add the material and start designing what I want to cut. All right, so where is my splatter squad? Because I am going to cut out something I can hang in my craft room, and you guessed it, it's going to say Splatter Squad. I'm going to start by designing the piece, and it was pretty easy to do because it's similar to Cricut Design Space, and I've been using Design Space for years. But to be honest, my husband was able to maneuver around it as well, and I don't think he's ever used Design Space. So even if you are a newbie at any machine, you probably could figure this out. It was really easy to find the font that I wanted to use and align the letters, and then I'm going to unite the letters together so that it cuts as one word rather than individual letters. This is really important. I think this next part is probably one of my favorite features of this machine. I'm going to refresh the camera, and this blew me away. I can now see the material in the machine in real time. And this is going to allow me to move my cut exactly where I want to in the design software on the material while it's in the machine. I don't know. Is it just me? I just find this super cool. I'm going to start the cutting process, and to my surprise, it wasn't really that loud at all. But my husband is a huge sound geek or nerd, whatever you want to call it, and happened to have this app on his phone, and he wanted to measure the sound to see how many decibels it was. So I thought I would add it to my video just in case anyone else wanted to know. All right, overall, I think it took about 15 minutes to cut, if I remember correctly, and it was actually pretty cool to watch, at least for the first time. I'm not going to watch every single cut I do, but I also wanted to mention that even though the hose was leading the air outside of my window, there was a faint smell, but it wasn't horrible. But I just wanted to add that just in case you are really sensitive. So again, there is a purifier for additional cost if you have a space where you cannot put the hose out the window or live somewhere where the climate is pretty extreme like I do and you will be using the machine often. The purifier may be a good investment for you. All right, so now that the cut is done, I'm going to take the word out of the machine, and I'm not sure why I thought that the material was going to be hot, but it wasn't. I was so excited about the cut, but it was so thin when I dropped it, it broke. And I just knew that I had to cut the word a little bit thicker next time. I still love how it turned out and how I'm able to take my little catchphrases and little quirky sayings and incorporate them into my craft room eventually. The next big project I filmed was making some stickers with my daughter. Now, we love making stickers with the Cricut machine, so I wanted to see if it was going to be as easy to do with the xTool. Now, I'll give you a little hint. Adding the blade to the machine was the easiest part of this whole process, and I'm going to get into that in just a second. But when I do a print then cut, whatever machine I'm using, I always make sure that there's sticker paper in my printer first. Now I'm going to go into the software and upload my design. These images were found on design bundles and my daughter chose them. She loves cats. I'm going to arrange them in in the software, and then I'm going to print them out. Now I'm going to add the mat to the bottom of the machine, and this mat is actually sticky on both sides. This way it stays in place while the machine is doing its cutting. I'm going to start the cut, and when it was finished, I took the stickers out, and I was honestly really disappointed with the material. It's so thin, almost like copy paper with adhesive on it. So I decided to add a holographic sticker paper adhesive transparent film on top of the sticker paper. That's a mouthful. This way it makes it a little bit thicker. When I took the stickers out of the machine, some of them stayed on the mat and some didn't. And if I'm being honest, if this was my only machine to make stickers with, I would have spent more time trying to perfect it, but I have a Cricut and I know that it works. I know the settings, so I will just continue to use that for my print then cut features. Now that you've seen the ins and outs of the machine, a couple of projects that I've created, I'm going to do the review part of this video. I'm going to start off with the pros and cons about this machine. But just remember, some of these are my own opinion, and depending on your crafting style and what you need it for, this could be different for you. After I go over the pros and cons, I will definitely dive into, is it right for the everyday crafter, paper crafter, and is it right for someone that wants to start a little side hustle? So number one pro, the versatility of this machine. As you saw in the video, the xTool M1 offers the laser plus the blade option. This is going to provide you with a wide range of crafting possibilities. It can cut vinyl as well as engrave metal. To me, that's just crazy that this machine can do both. The second pro is the ease of use. I really was very intimidated when I pulled it out of the box, but I just plugged it in, hooked up the hose, downloaded the software, and honestly, it was really that simple. The software interface is very user-friendly as well. And if you're familiar with Cricut Design Space or even Silhouette, their software, this could be very easy for you to use. Now, this next one can be a pro, but also a con depending on how deep your pockets are. But the additional accessories and all of the different things that you can get for this machine, you could really make this machine a powerhouse for your crafting or your business. But again, it can get pretty pricey. But I do love all the possibilities of all the different accessories that you can buy. The fourth pro is the precision. The camera feature in real time allows you for precise cuts. You can align all your materials and your cuts directly onto your surface. It's kind of pretty cool. I was really amazed. I was just kind of playing around with it as I was using it just to make sure that I was really seeing it in real time. And it definitely is real-time camera. It's really cool. And the camera is going to allow for accuracy in your crafting projects. And that's definitely important because I know for me, sometimes I get really frustrated when I think it's right on my material, but then it cuts and it's totally off. So the camera feature it's perfect. The fifth pro for this machine is going to be the potential for business use. With all the different accessory options like the rotary attachment, the xTool M1 can be valuable to start a small business or a little side hustle. It's so easy to create customized tumblers or little ornaments, puzzles. The possibilities are definitely endless with this machine. Here are a few cons for the xTool M1. The first one is going to be the smell. Although it isn't really bad, especially when you put the hose outside of your window. But as I talked about in the video, I live in a place where it gets really, really hot and then pretty cold for where I live. I wouldn't want to leave my window open in the middle of winter. So it definitely plays a part in how much I will be using this machine. And like I said in the video, if I do end up using this machine quite often, I will definitely make the investment for the air purifier. But that does bring me into number 2 con, and that is the cost of the air purifier. Now, again, I do want to mention that if you run the hose outside of your window, or if you're working in a garage where it's well ventilated, the smell is definitely nothing to worry about, but if you don't have somewhere where you can work outside or the option to run the hose outside, then the air purifier is a must. And that additional cost may hold you back from getting this machine. Number 3 con is going to be the noise level. Now, I didn't find it any noisier than, say, my Sizzix switch or my Cricut machine. But if you're somewhere where you need to be extra quiet or you're really sensitive to noise, then this machine is definitely not for you. especially because depending on what you're doing, the amount of time this machine has to stay on and running, that noise could definitely get to some people. Number 4 con is going to be cutting the material too thin. Now, I probably could have done a little bit more research, but that was a con that I came across for myself. I wanted this really pretty scripty font for my craft room for the sign that I was making, and I didn't take into consideration how thin those lines were going to be. Depending on what you're looking to use it for, you definitely need to keep in mind how thin you're going to want those cuts. Now that we have went over a few of the pros and cons, and I've had this machine for several months, I'm going to give you my honest opinion. Now, since I've had this machine for quite some time, I will say that the initial excitement kind of wore off. And this is a pretty pricey tool for that to happen with. I'm going to give my opinion if I think it's right for the everyday crafter, the regular paper crafter, or if you're someone that wants to start a little side hustle. Now, I'm going to start off and say if you're an everyday crafter that loves to give personalized gifts for the holidays and birthdays, this machine is definitely for you. The possibilities are definitely endless with this machine. The fact that it has a laser and you can engrave tumblers and then just switch over and cut out vinyl and make a little tote bag for somebody. I think that's really cool. Now, I would consider myself more of an everyday crafter slash artist slash a lot of other things, but I'm a little lazy. And for me and my style and what I like to do, I think this machine might be a little much. Now, don't get me wrong, it definitely will get a lot of use, but if I'm being completely transparent and honest with you, which I know that you all love about me and my channel, I probably wouldn't purchase it with my own money. But again, that's just for me and my crafting style. So that brings me into, is this right for the everyday paper crafter? So if you are just strictly stamp to paper, you know, maybe some spellbinders, die cuts, that sort of thing, I think this tool is a little much. Unless you have a lot of money to burn in your pocket, I would definitely hold off on this tool until you have a clear idea of what you would want it for. Because it's so easy to get wrapped up in the new thing and the excitement of it all. But I've heard time and time again how many people have bought a Cricut or a die cut machine, stamps, even just a stencil, and it just sits in the package because the excitement wears off. Now I'm going to talk about if you're somebody that wants to start a little side hustle or maybe a little crafty business. As you saw in the video, this machine can do so many different things. Now this machine can engrave tumblers, you can make tote bags, shirts, engrave wood, you can make ornaments. There are so many different things that you can do with this machine. I can't even list them all. You'd be here for a year. But you do have to keep in mind the cost of all the different accessories. When xTool reached out to me, I thought this is going to be a great way to make a little extra money. But then I did a little research and there are a lot of people in my little town that do something similar. So I feel for my little town, the market is saturated. You definitely want to do a little bit of research before you make the commitment to buy this machine and see if your market is saturated just like mine. So when you start a little side hustle or start a business, you definitely need to keep in mind the overhead cost of everything, a website, materials, the machine, labor, shipping materials, packaging, the list goes on and on. But I do think that this machine definitely offers so many different varieties of crafts that you can do with it. And so in my opinion, I do think that this tool would be amazing to start a little business. I hope all the information I gave you in this video was helpful, and if it was, I would love it if you gave me a thumbs up and let me know down in the comments if you're looking to get this machine and what you're going to be using it for. I want to thank xTool for sending me this machine. I want to thank all of you for watching this video, and here's a couple more videos you might enjoy, and I will catch you all later.